That's great. Thank you very much. Firstly, yes, I'd like to thank for being invited by Paula Clayton-Smith to, I don't know, actually invited, told, I don't know, to do this presentation. But I think, it was felt that it was pertinent for the project I'm going to talk to you about. So just to explain, David Laoide-Kemp, I'm from Transport Infrastructure Ireland. So those who don't know, we're kind of the National Road Administration body for Ireland, and I am part of the STREETWISE group, part of TTF. I'm going to talk to you today about our connected vehicle technology in Ireland. I'm going to talk about one particular project, and then there are a couple of other projects we're doing as well, which I'll make mention of. So what I'm going to talk about here is a brief thing. I'm sure you all know, but just in case, I'll just give a brief kind of update on what connected vehicles are, or what I see them as, why it's important to us, TII, what will it look like, and what we're doing, and what the impacts and challenges are. So I like to show this, actually, it's mainly to actually senior management, trying to persuade them, but a lot of you be familiar with Traffic Science Manual in the UK and Ireland and other countries, and we put in this quite complex and important sort of safety sort of signs, cones, etc., to if there's some work being done, and it's a very important part to protect, obviously, the workers, but obviously slow down traffic, etc. But of course, if there's an incident, you don't get any. You can't do that. It's unplanned. The cars don't know what's going on. There's no traffic management you can put in place. So what we do is we put in ITS, and this has been historically the way we've done it. We put in traditional ITS. You might put in VMS. You put in a camera and various things, so you know what's going on and you can inform users. But of course, connected vehicle takes that to a whole different state. Instead of having all that equipment, you have, in some cases, roadside units. In some cases, you might not even have that. The connected vehicle will be connected via the cellular network. And the vehicles themselves monitor the incidents. You get a notification of the incident itself by maybe the vehicles involved in it, and you can display instructions to the approaching vehicles to that incident. And this is, for us, is a step change, and I think this is why it's of interest to us, and I'm sure pretty much every road authority. And mainly being because it is the future. We see this as the future. You get more direct, you get the information both of the incident, but actually you can get the reaction to that incident a lot quicker because it's happening or being via the vehicles themselves. And it also means potentially we need less conventional ITS roadside infrastructure. So again, for us as an administrator, where we're deploying a lot of ITS, it is expensive, it takes time, there's a lot of deployment involved in planning and site acceptance and all that sort of thing. But imagine not having to do a lot of that and actually using the vehicles themselves. So we are intrigued. We're definitely not there yet, but this is something we need to definitely look at. Maintenance costs, of course, will be reduced as well. So what are we doing? So we're involved with C roads, so we're not alone. So those who don't know, there's Gary Crockford is here, is one represented the UK on C roads. So there are a number of countries. I think there are 18 or so now at this stage. We represent Ireland, and we have done since 2017. So the whole remit of C roads is actually to have a commonality of deployment of connected vehicles, cooperative ITS. It's funded to give us that little incentive. So SNEA are funding it. It's actually up to 50% funding, which is very high. Yep, I was right, 18 member states. There are, at the last count, 50 cities involved in it. So it's quite a big undertaking. It's coming to the end. There is actually to the project. Hopefully we'll get news of that in July, but you can imagine the organisation to get us all talking to each other. And of course the focus is cross-border harmonisation and interoperability of CITS services. And to do that, we all needed a national pilot. So what I'm going to show you hopefully brief you here is, or in summary, is our pilot. Here's the pilot. So it's part of the program. It actually is costing us 10 million, and I mentioned there the 50% funding. We delivered it through a variable speed limit project that was being undertaken on the M50, which is the part of, it's essentially the outer ring, or the C ring as we call it, around Dublin, which was being upgraded to have variable speed limits on it. So it was part of that. We've got about 60 kilometres of roadside unit deployment in that on the M1, which you see there, heading from Dublin north to Belfast, and the M50 itself. And part of the project is to have about 470 kilometres of cellular coverage on those roads. And we also have, for those who don't know, there's a future mobility campus island, which is fronted, but involves many other companies like Jaguar Land Rover and others, that's looking at autonomous vehicles and other innovations down near Shannon Airport. So to get this going, we were looking for over 1,000 pilot participants. So we were looking to have people, volunteers from the public, to install a device, either an OBU or a mobile app, in their vehicle. There were about 160 onboard units, and we're conservatively thinking between 500 and 1,000 mobile app users. We've deployed the roadside units, they're all in place. It was actually launched as a system, a live system at the end of January, the 31st of January. And here's one thing, and I think this is what prompted Paula. We actually got on the news. I can tell a different story how we ended up on there, but we actually got on the main 601 news on RTE. There's a link there. I think the slides are going to be sent out. I won't show you it. It's about a 2.5 minute segment. And part of that was to help us. Well, firstly, it was a ministerial launch, so it was an opportunity for the minister to talk about the project, but also allowed us to advertise the fact we were looking for participants. So that was a big change for us. So we actually now have 50 of those onboard units installed. So you see actually the top page, that's an onboard unit, that's the sort of screen you get. And we actually have now 650 mobile app users. And they are receiving, both units, both the OBUs and the mobile apps are receiving live information into their vehicles of real live events. In some cases, it's showing, say, what the VMS is saying, but it's also things like stationary vehicle or congestion, so forth. We have testing evaluation to be carried out for the remainder of this year. The project will end at the end of this year. We also, I mentioned there that we are looking to have a follow-up project. We're being encouraged to put in or bring in an operational remit, which will mean not only do we start communicating with our volunteer OBUs, mobile apps, but we'll actually start talking to the OEMs. So we actually have a CEF call. There was a September CEF call. We put in a project called LINRA to actually extend the pilot or the project to actually become operational. And of course, this is going to help us transition away or plan the transition away from traditional ITS whenever that happens. And of course, it increases the scope. It's an enabler for autonomous vehicles. But we have to consider a number of things. AI has come up a number of times in this, so we have to make considerations about how we handle AI, how that's used in projects such as this. Cybersecurity is a big thing. It's a big part of the C-ROSE platform in making sure that if you're connecting up vehicles, that someone essentially can't hack into them. So there's a lot of work involved in that to ensure that can't happen. Of course, data protection is another thing, and it's been a big part of our project, ensuring that the users that sign up to it, we're not breaking any GDPR by being able to monitor them. So there's a lot of anonymization that has to happen in order to show that we're not kind of basically Big Brother tracking people. There's been a multiple stakeholder engagement, so there are a lot of the names here. Some of those people are here today. And it's been a big project and it's coming to the end, and I'm looking forward to maybe coming back at future events to show you how it goes. In terms of impacts challenges, well, we have to consider things like legislation. Standards is another one. Supply chain has been an issue for us, and it was particularly an issue after, obviously, COVID, Ukraine, Brexit, the usual ones kind of challenged the project. We actually had to apply for an extension, which is probably driven primarily because of the supply chain issues. And of course, resourcing. We need to get a knowledge base actually in Ireland to carry out future projects. So that's something we're working on to enable. And obviously communications, driver education is another one. The two other projects I wanted to mention are that we also have a similar project that isn't part of C-Roads. It's a CITS project running in Cork, and we're going to be deploying more roadside units and a few onboard units there. So we're already thinking of expanding our deployment. And another one is we're being supported by Andy Graham and Danny in Vessos for some work, which actually I think would be interest to this room, to do with analysing e-call data. So like here, we have e-call enabled vehicles. And I believe it's actually 30% of the fleet, I think now, have some sort of e-call facility in them. So we asked the team to actually look at analysing the e-call data, because we're interested particularly in the automatic alerts where the airbag goes off. And we carried out an analysis only in the last few weeks that has shown that actually, yes, there are instances where we can show exactly direction of travel, an airbag going off on our roads, and the potential there is that we can get this information in real time. This would be a big thing for us, and we're really interested in this because it means that we get a very, very quick and early alert to an incident. And I'm sure you'd agree, with an airbag going off, particularly on a motorway section, that's likely to be quite serious. So I just wanted to mention that project as well, and I'm happy to talk to anybody afterwards. So thank you very much.